Hey everybody, it's your boy Leon Reverse here. We are in beautiful Port St. Lucie, Florida. We're gonna find out what's going on, Florida. So we're gonna do a little foraging video today. This is a nice place that I like to go to. It has a lot of things. So let's get started. Okay, so I haven't even gone inside yet. I'm still walking along the trail, along the river. And I see some Suriname cherry trees or bushes already, which is this right here. I don't see any fruits on it, but I know for a fact that's what this is. If you're familiar with Suriname cherries and you see something that you think might be it, you could always take off a leaf and then crush it up a little bit and give it a good sniff, and it smells just like the actual Suriname cherries. So if you've eaten one before, if you know what one smells like, so yes, this is definitely some kind of a wild guava. Noticing it, and then I seen how much the bees like the flowers, and that the flower looks just like the guava that I'm growing. I can't see it on camera as good as I can see it in person. Okay, well, here goes a lot more of that wild guava, and this one is loaded with fruits. The ripe ones will be on the ground. In this area, we do get a lot of wild hogs and deer every now and then. So, and tortoises. So there's a big old tortoise hole right there. Go for tortoise probably. And all those animals will eat these guavas as soon as they drop. They'll be all over it. But I'll try to catch one that's ripe on the tree. Just give them a squeeze. Usually they'll be facing down when they're ripe. That's a lot though. Okay. Haven't even gone in yet. Okay. So I'm going to try to do as much of a constant stream now that I'm walking in. This is the entrance. See, that's where I just came from, the canal trail. And this is the entrance into here. I'm not going to tell you guys the name of the place, but if you live in the area, you probably recognize it. But this is wild shortleaf coffee. It grows a lot as an underbush in any tropical areas that are like Florida, Texas, and South. Like anywhere in South America, you'll find this in this kind of woodsy area with the dense growth. It'll be an understory, which means it likes growing in the shade. And basically all kind of coffee originally grew like this. Just grew in the woods, like in the shadows of larger trees. This is also a Suriname cherry, another one. So another one that's closely related to this, that's in South America only, that has hallucinogenic properties. But thank goodness it doesn't grow around here, because it probably would have been discovered. Anyhow, let's keep going. We have Suriname cherries. We have, I'm not sure what this one is. I have, oh look at that, lots of Suriname cherry right here. I've come through here and found a lot of ripe fruit, which is surprising because it barely gets any sun, but it's still able to ripen up. Because there's a grapevine, no grapes yet. Probably a little later on, just as summer's ending. It's usually when you see all the grapes. This is mostly all Suriname cherry right here. I found some citrus in here before, some pomelo. Citrus naturally grows as an understory, so this is the kind of habitat you would see it in naturally. However, the more sun it gets, the more fruit it gives, the quicker it'll give fruit, which is why farmers will grow them out in the open in groves, just rows of them. But naturally they wouldn't grow like that. Naturally they would grow in an area like this. So this is some more the wild shortleaf coffee. Doesn't have any berries on them right now, but the berries are edible, just like the regular coffee that we drink. The berries are edible. And the berries have, oh, these are starting to make berries. They're not ripe yet, but you can see the set. Anytime I've ever found citrus growing in the wild, it always looks so healthy. Like there's no diseases, the canker, which is pretty obvious to spot just by the leaves and the fruit. The fruit will have like stripes, and I'll take this as an example. So you see how this one looks? All of them will look kind of like that, but like lots of spots on them too. So not just this brown markings, but lots of funky spots on them. And if you notice, this is the only one that has anything wrong with it. It's probably some kind of insect or bird trying to eat at it as it was growing, because all the other ones are beautiful. Let me, so this entire citrus is growing from this scraggly looking trunk. See these 2, 3? That is the base of the citrus. Well, it looks like there's 2 of them actually. So maybe there's 2 different types of citrus mixed up. Oh no, that, okay, so that one's not a citrus. Those 2 are 2 or 3. 1 branches into 3. I see it clearly now. So yeah, that's not what you would see in a grove. You would not see dinky little trunks like this supporting this much growth. But for some reason in these tight enclosures, probably because of the extra root support of the trees that are right up against them, that they're more stable. They don't need to be as thick on the trunk to have this much growth coming off of it. But I also feel like it's the fact that it's with other trees growing in its natural environment, that it doesn't get all these diseases that they get when they put them in groves. So, food for thought. Maybe we should all grow food forest style, no matter what you're growing. Multiple crops, you know, have a different harvest every month. All disease free, pesticide free, no fertilizers. Because in a forest, it feeds itself. If you look, this is layers of plants that have died and they're dying. And all that's just breaking down, feeding the soil, making this extremely rich. Otherwise you would see sand, because that's usually what is in Florida. But here, a lot of rich soil from all of the growth breaking down. And you can see when it rains hard, the sand still comes to the surface when there's nothing growing. This is a wild yam. I'm not very good with the Latin names, but this is the one that you don't want to eat, even though it's the most eaten around the world. It has a chemical that kind of enhances the risks of getting cancer. So we don't eat it here in the States, but around the world, this is the most common eaten yam, probably because it's the most commonly found. It just grows everywhere like a weed, especially in this kind of environment. So anywhere that there's woods, you'll probably find these yams if you look for this kind of heart-shaped leaf. You might have seen a video at my house where I'm growing yam, and it also has a heart-shaped leaf, but they're slightly different. When you see them a lot, you kind of get to know the difference in the leaves. But anyway, we won't get too in depth with yams. But those yams, which are true yams, not sweet potatoes, those get to be hundreds of pounds. It's pretty crazy. So like an 80-pound yam is not an odd thing. It's kind of like an average big yam. So I think it was back here when I first noticed the pomelos. At first I thought they were giant tennis balls on the ground all over the place back here. And I was like, why would somebody have so many huge tennis balls out here? So I went up to one and it was a huge pomelo just sitting on the ground. And then I realized a lot of these trees with the smooth bark is all citrus, obviously pomelos. But the one behind me that we just checked out is definitely not pomelo. It looks like it's growing smaller and more abundant fruit. The pomelos are usually like one or two on a branch at a time, not clusters like that. Here's another huge oak. The temperature in here is at least between 6 and 10 degrees cooler than it is outside of this area because of all of the cover. Most of this place doesn't get heated really from the sun that much. Just little cascades of light here and there. So it's much cooler. The air is very damp, but it feels nice. It's not like humid, sticky, hot. It's just like, I don't know, like somebody just sprayed a spritzer, like a mister kind of thing. So this is a parasitic tree. This is invasive. This is not from Florida, but they're all over the place. They do grow berries, but the whole plant's toxic, even the berries. Whenever something's toxic, I tend to forget the name of it or not even be interested enough to remember the name of it. Oh, here goes something cool. Beauty berry. We have lots of this here in PSL. Not just in parks, but in any kind of empty lot. If it's enough growth in that empty lot that hasn't been touched for a while, chances are you'll find some beautyberry. The berries are edible. The coolest thing I think about this plant though is you could take the leaves and basically steep them like a tea, make a reduction from that tea, you know, after you remove the leaves, reduce that liquid, and then you could mix it with rubbing alcohol. You could mix it with some aloe or grind it up with some aloe and make like a gel out of it. And it's a great mosquito repellent. Mosquitoes are naturally, matter of fact, I just had a mosquito by my face. I'm gonna take one of these leaves and just rub it. Oh, it smells nice. I'm gonna rub it around my neck, around my ears, just to keep them off. I'm dressed for being out here. I have, I'm fully geared up, but it still go for your neck. So you best protect your neck. Another nice, big, impressive, massive oak tree. More beautyberry growing through there. You can see the purple berries. They grow kind of scraggly. You could trim them and train them to be more of a bush or a hedge, but in the wild they grow kind of scraggly. Everything in dense bush kind of area is going to grow a little scraggly, kind of like that, because they're stretching to get some sun. They're trying to get some sun. There's a loquat tree growing out here. Jeez, the yam's taking over. Yam is also considered invasive, obviously. If you look at the floor here, this whole entire thing, there's nothing but yam plants. This is the kind of area where if you were to dig it up, you'd probably find some. And yam is one of those things where it takes, the longer you wait, the bigger it'll get. A lot of other things like potatoes or carrots, there's a certain time that they're finished, and they're not going to get any bigger after that time. They'll just start to rot. But yams, wild yams, are not like that. Wild yams will keep growing year after year, especially since they're mostly from tropical regions that don't get cold enough to freeze. Some more beautyberry. Another guava, it looks like. Oh, I see a Suriname cherry on the plant. That's what they look like. Oh man, I wonder if I could get to. Here's a very large, impressive beautyberry. You got some more of the leaves. Here goes a wild coffee that's full of berries. So, like I was saying, this is the closest related to the Arabic coffee that we drink. But these berries do not contain any caffeine. So this would be an excellent source of naturally not caffeinated coffee. The Native Americans actually make a drink from this the same way that they do with the Arabic coffee. Not just the Native Americans of North America, but of South America. A lot of the places in South America still make this drink, but they prefer it to the coffee with caffeine. They prefer this coffee because it has a sweeter taste and a milder flavor. But people who are not used to drinking it say that it gives them headaches. People who have had it who aren't accustomed to it. I've tried the berry. The berry is pretty good. Mildly sweet, unique flavor. A little bit waxy, but pretty good. Got the little seeds, or it's either 1 or 2 seeds in the middle, and that's what you would roast as the coffee bean, would be the seed that's in the middle of the berry. Yeah. So it looks like this got knocked over or pushed over. Probably knocked over from the wind. But this is pokeweed. Those are pokeberries. Those are controversial. Some people say they're edible, some people say they're not. Most people will tell you they're poisonous. This whole plant, extremely toxic. However, it was so popular back in the days that Elvis even wrote a song about pokeweed salad. They would take the young shoots like this right here. Really, there's a certain time you're supposed to take it during the early spring when the whole plant is starting to grow, because this whole thing will grow over again. It's used to being knocked down, and then the plant will die, and then it'll come back again from the roots. But when it starts growing and you see little shoots that look similar to this, that's what they would eat. But nowadays, nobody eats it because the rules of how and when to cook it have been forgotten, and when people try to eat it now, they get sick. So now everybody just says stay away from it. But that's actually where poke bowl or tuna poke, that's where that came from. Hawaiians also used to cook it and eat it. Same story there though. The more European people would come over and try it, the more people would get sick. So they stopped using the pokeweed and they started using seaweed because nobody had a reaction to the seaweed. Okay, so this is another citrus. That's why I stopped here. I can just tell by the leaves. Doesn't have any fruit on it, but that probably means that it's also a pomelo. Seems like the pomelo's season is a little later than whatever the other one was. The other one was some kind of orange, maybe. Orange or lemon. Maybe a sour orange. That's the most common. Usually if you plant a seed of any citrus, you'll get a sour orange. It kind of reverts to its most natural or wild state. Another pomelo. This is an example of how Florida Strangler figs typically grow. This is a huge old oak tree that's covered in ferns and moss, all kinds of different things. So it was a nice area for a seed to germinate because there's so many things piled up on this old oak tree right at the fork where everything starts to branch. So a Florida Strangler fig probably got pooped out by a bird right there, and it was just the right environment for it to take off, and it shot its roots down past the trunk of the tree and into the ground. And it's running all through the tree, through the bark of the tree. The roots are in there. Florida Strangler grows to be even taller than the oak itself. Okay, so I just came out. It's basically the second entrance, or I like to use it as an exit because I do like an entire lap and come out this way. But where you saw me going into was further down this way, and that's the end of it over here. But here goes another guava. This one is facing down, so this one's closest on the tree to being ripe. It's no longer upward facing. It's not soft yet. It's also facing down, but it's not soft. Is another example of a Florida Strangler. Florida Strangler Fig just grew on the side of the palm. Probably had some of the old palm frond branch hanging on it with some of that. See how it has like cocoa core naturally inside of it, which is perfect for a seed to grow, which is what happened there. And then it just shot off the side of this palm tree. And here's the Florida Strangler Fig right here. No fruits on it right now. Okay, so there's a Brazilian pepper right in front of me. We consider that a nuisance plant around here. It's invasive. It's from South America. Birds pooped it into our area and now it's taken over. But what I want to show you is this snake vine cactus behind that's crawling up this palm tree. Snake vine cactuses are very heavy in Florida. It's one of the only areas where it's so heavy. But they have these beautiful flowers that they do right in the beginning of summer, or sometimes in the middle or late spring, depending on how hot it is. As soon as it starts getting hot, it puts on this awesome display, and they all bloom at the same time. It's amazing. So there'll be places where you don't even notice that there's these cactus crawling up palm trees until one night you'll just see tons of flowers all over these palm trees. And you're like, what is that? But it's pretty cool. They also have little fruits that they don't bear very often, but they do have fruits that are amazing. They're very, very good. They're very round, unlike a dragon fruit, which is similar. It's also on a cactus that climbs, but it's very different looking. And the fruit on a dragon fruit is beautiful. This is just round red with some spikes on it, but it is really good tasting. I think it tastes better than most dragon fruits. I'm not going to say all, because the yellow dragon fruit's one of my favorites. Amazing. But yeah, so that's that. That is the snake vine cactus. Let me just show you real quick too. So this year wasn't as heavy as last year. Last year at this time, these grapevines were everywhere. It was ridiculous. It might be a little later this year. They're here still, but they were on everything. They were crawling over the Brazilian peppers, over everything. So Brazilian peppers, by the way, even though we consider them a nuisance plant, the berries, although they contain the same toxin that's in the tree, is sold as a red pepper or a Brazilian red peppercorn because it will light your mouth on fire because of those toxins. Therefore, it has a similar effect as pepper. There's another Florida strangler. This one is wrapping around like a boa constrictor, literally strangling the tree. Okay, so we're at another location. This was supposed to be a fence to keep out any kind of gators or wildlife, because this was just all woods over here and a lake. But it might as well be a grapevine trellis because that's all that's growing out here. Over this, I'm sure there's other kind of plants under all that. All I can see is grapevine. Even in the ground here, you can see it popping all up. I'll walk through there. This whole spot here, I don't know if you see that bird. Between here and there is filled with wild ground cherries, which is where I got mine from. Harvested them out here. They're all in the ground. Picking seeds down. And mine are growing, and these are gone. This is green average. All that's grape. Some kind of legume tree. Here goes another. Here goes a. This is gonna be the ground cherries. This is a ground cherry. That's awesome. Still popping up. I figured there were so many ground cherries that there had to be seeds that'll last forever. So there's another one. That's a ground cherry. This is a sunflower. These are grapevines behind it. Show you guys all the greenbrier. There was tons of it down there. I'll stop the recording for now, and then when I get down there, I'll pick it back up. Okay, so good news and bad news. Good news is they did pull a lot of the greenbrier that were in here, and a lot of them died, because I think that's all dead greenbrier right there. It is. But the good news is there's fresh, thick shoots popping up. See the ground? Out of the ground is just popping up this thick stalk. And those fresh shoots First of all, extremely edible. They're delicious. These are really, really good. You want to snap it from wherever it stops being pliable. So like all the way down here, this one stops being pliable, which happens to be where the first set of thorns are that are kind of starting to be pronounced. When they're young, the thorns are just show. They don't really do nothing. Even down here, these ones that look all serious are just really soft. It's not until they get older that they actually are spiky and hard. This, I'm gonna be collecting. So I'm gonna snap it, boom, right there. And that tastes just like asparagus. But I'm gonna collect them because there's a few of them out here. So there we go. That's a little side dish. Tastes exactly like asparagus. I actually like it more than asparagus. It doesn't have as strong of a flavor. Like, it's hard to explain. It tastes a lot like asparagus, but more refreshing. Like not quite as pungent of asparagus kind of flavor. It's really good. Greenbrier. They also call it sarsaparilla, but usually when they call it sarsaparilla, they're referring to the roots. They used to make a drink from it, or one of those elixirs. It used to be like a health elixir ingredient, and then it became a popular drink, and that's kind of where you got root beer from, but they started using sassafras instead of sarsaparilla because it's much stronger. Anyway, so that's that. It's freaking delicious. I'm glad there's still some out here. I'll collect some more. I think I see some more down the road, down the patch, down the walkway here, whatever you want to call it. Okay, so I found another little patch right there. But before I went to approach, number 10. Probably a black racer, which are usually very afraid of humans. So as soon as he notices me, boom, there he goes. And he's off into the safety of the weeds in the water. So I don't think I finished saying what this means to me right here. When you see pretty thick shoots coming out of the ground, that means right under here, probably from the area of these two and this one, is a giant root. Probably one humongous root in there that keeps sprouting all of these. And those roots are not only edible, but that's the root that they used to make the drink from. The sarsaparilla. So yeah, so sarsaparilla, briar, there's another very common name for it. It's escaping me right now. Oh, Smilex. Smilex is another name for it. So Smilex, sarsaparilla, greenbrier. There's many different types, and to be honest, I've tried quite a few different ones. This one happens to be my favorite when it comes to the shoots. I've eaten the root, and this one, the root is very bland. It just takes a very long time to get it to be tender. And you have to cook it right away or else it starts drying. It looks like a ginger root on steroids. But it doesn't have a strong flavor. Like I was expecting like a strong root beer kind of flavor. It doesn't have a strong flavor, but I did let some of it age a little bit, and it did start to get some of that root beer kind of flavor. So maybe there's like a secret recipe where you gotta age it. Yeah, Looks like I got all the good shoots from here. Oh shoot. Oh, I didn't even get the ones that I was just pointing at. There you go. Okay. There's lots of dog fennel, polka berries, ground cherries, there was a huge some kind of wild sunflower, but it was massive, growing right back here, and then somebody took the heads off of them. I was hoping to get the seeds, but can't get the seeds if somebody took the entire heads. And lots of grapes. Lots and lots and lots of grape all over. So yeah.